Sometime within the next minute or so, somewhere on the planet, another big idea is being born. It might be a new song, a new product, who knows? And who knows how to make this idea grow and introduce it to the world? Let's find out. Welcome to The Next Big Idea with your host, Peter Gantner. The program is sponsored by kulaBrands, dedicated to help with branding, funding, and marketing the next big idea. And if that idea is yours, you want to pay particular attention to the particulars. Peter and his co-hosts and guests will explain just how it's done. If you happen to be an investor or just an interested party, you could benefit from the efforts of kulaBrands. You could become a part of their community of folks who want to help others and make money in the process. If that sparks your curiosity or wets your whistle, sit up and take notice. kulaBrands presents Peter Gantner and his guests on The Next Big Idea. Want to help others and make money in the process. If that sparks your curiosity or wets your whistle, sit up and take notice. kulaBrands presents Peter Gantner and his guests on The Next Big Idea.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Next Big Idea. We're excited to be here. Today, we have, of course, my co-host, Deb Caswell and Cory Moran. So guys, say hello to everybody.
Hey everybody, nice to see you again.
Hey everybody.
And today we have some special guests. We actually have some kulaBrands members with us, Jeff and Wendy Simpson and Justin Haggerty. They're going to join us and they're going to talk about their experience in being a support system for entrepreneurs, right? Being an entrepreneur is a really tough journey. I liken it to climbing Mount Everest naked. Being an entrepreneur is a really tough journey. I liken it to climbing Mount Everest naked, without a guide and without oxygen. You know, sometimes it's a very tough place to be. And being an entrepreneur, one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur is being by yourself, right? Feeling that you don't have that support system, people helping you, with your journey as an entrepreneur. And one of the things that kulaBrands does do is it connects you with a community of people that are here to support you in your journey. So, Jeff and Wendy, how are you guys today?
We're doing good, Peter. Thanks. First of all, thanks for having us.
We're doing good, thank you.
Excellent. So real quick, can you tell us how long have you been with kulaBrands?
I've been with kulaBrands since September 2017.
And I came along and joined a few months after her, February of 28.
Guys, right now, through crowdfunding, through branding and marketing, and through sales, have been supporting our entrepreneurs. And we're going to get into some of the details on that. But just give us an overall thing of maybe the joy, or how has it impacted your life helping these entrepreneurs along their journey to success?
Well, for me, 3 of my favorite shows on TV are actually all done in the entrepreneurial spirit. We have one up here in Canada, Dragon's Den, and of course the popular Shark Tank and The Profit. I love those shows, and kulaBrands actually gave Wendy and myself an opportunity to be a supporter and not sit on the sidelines and just watch the TV shows, because this is actually giving the people out there the same opportunity to participate in business startups and be rewarded in the long run. That's what I like about kulaBrands.
Right? Then all of a sudden you find a business model that says, I get to participate with this situation. So it makes you a shark or the lion's den, right? It puts you in that position to work directly with those inventors.
Exactly. Yeah, it might not be, of course, we don't have to shell out the large sums of money to get a piece of the business. We just support through the crowdfunding, and they've already came up with the amount of royalties that they'll give back once they become successful. And you can choose to be in it, or you can choose to sit on the sidelines. But to me, I might not be a shark, I might not be a dragon, but I'm in there supporting projects, and I love it. I actually love it.
Yeah, that is awesome. And so we also have Justin with us. Justin, why don't you give us a little bit of how long have you been in, and what's your drive?
But it's like nothing else I've ever participated in. I've done many different businesses before, but having the ability, just like Jeff said, to support different entrepreneurs and help them get their brands noticed through a social media sharing and different avenues like that, helping them with the funding. It makes you feel like you're part of that brand. And once it gets into the main marketplace, it's just knowing that I'm part of that. That's just amazing. And to think, I mean, one of these brands or products could become the next, Amazon or a huge brand out there. And it's just, there's nothing else like that. Where else do you get to be able to participate in something like that?
Well, I think that's one of the beautiful things, guys. So, the money's going to be great, right? Royalties coming in and all that stuff. But I think part of the real value here with kulaBrands, and I'm going to ask Deb this question. Deb, is that really your driving force? Because Deb actually started as a community member. She eventually came to the staff of kulaBrands. Give us your perspective, Deb, on
knowing that I can simply purchase a product from them in the early stages, and knowing that then I can be a part of their project for the lifetime of the project. Just knowing that those gap sales or that cheerleading, I call it cheerleading when we're doing the branding for them, right? We're just going out to their fan pages and we're talking about the products and we're talking about our real life experience with those products. And that helps to sell them. That helps other people see that this is a viable product and something that people should purchase. I absolutely love that part. And two, the fact that we all get to be on the inside and watch from the start to the finish, from concept to roll out on store shelves. And we get to watch all of the ups and the downs and be with them every step of the way. I never thought that I would understand that what it took to get the tooling in manufacturing to start, putting a product out. I get to see that now. I get to be a part of things like movie projects and television projects and you name it, just average products that you see out on store shelves right now. We get to be part of those, and it's an insanely incredible thing to be involved with. I absolutely love it.
Now that Deb brings up a great point. Is there why don't you guys share with something that you didn't know prior to in this whole creation, invention process? Something that you maybe didn't know before that you do know now, like Deb was talking about the manufacturing on tooling. Maybe most of you guys probably didn't know what cogs were, right, before we started this, but now that's cost of goods sold.
For me, guys, real quick, this is Corey. I had no idea the amount of steps that go in from a product to go from, I knew it from an idea to the retail space, but I think the majority of people out there have no idea it takes. And I think it's really cool to be able to see and experience the process of that, the blueprints, and then you go from manufacturing to and from all aspects. I think that is one of the most attractive points about this model is seeing the innards of it. And everybody's attracted to a reality show, right? Because it's real. And this is like a reality show inside of a business model, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs do not understand is that how difficult it is and how many roles they have to play in order to bring a product to the marketplace, right? Because unless you have tons of money, you're going to be the CEO, you're going to be the accountant, you're going to be the order taker, you're going to be the manufacturing. And you have to do every aspect of it in order to make it happen, which is one of the reasons why we started kulaBrands, is we realized that this was such a tough journey, that collaboration is such an important part of life, and allowing people to participate in the ultimate success of something, not by just the wealthy, right? The sharks, the people that have a lot of money, but everyday people being able to participate in the success. I want you guys to think about this. How many brands do you have right now in your home that maybe you started buying 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago before they became super popular, right? Now they're like everywhere. Every person is wanting these brands. Maybe it's Nike, maybe it's whatever brand it may be. And you were one of the early adopters of it, one of those early users. Can you guys real quick give us, and we've got about 1.5 minutes left in this segment, can someone just give us a product or something that they purchased in the early days that today is a big brand?
Yeah, definitely, Peter. I love energy drinks. Been a huge fan. Currently, I purchase the energy drink called Bang.
Place to be in. So I'm going to turn it out over to Deb to take us into the break.
Yeah, so when I think about brands, I'm not thinking of any brands in particular except music artists. So there was one music artist. I went to a concert and she actually opened and she played acoustic. And nobody knew who she was. I absolutely fell in love with her that night, bought her album, listened to her all the time. And when she started playing on the radio, it was as if it was my best friend out there. And I was so excited that people were able to listen, but even more excited that I was an early adopter and I got to hear her first. So there is just something about that, being an early adopter, that is absolutely phenomenal. Peter, why don't you take us out?
Hey, we'll be back with you after the break, guys, with Jeff and Wendy and with Justin. And we're going to have Dawn join us in the next segment, guys. And we'll be back with more Big Idea. We're looking forward to being back with you here shortly.
You're tuned in to Better Living Radio, streaming worldwide across the internet. And you're listening to entrepreneur and thought processor Peter Gantner on the next Big Idea. Stay tuned. Peter will be right back. You're tuned to the latest concept on radio and on the internet. A gathering of people who use their brains to get a better deal. The day kicks off with none other than the money man, Dan Frischberg. There's The World According to Jackie Simmons, educator and mentor to anyone looking to build or rebuild their business. For the first-time home buyers and for real estate investors, David McLaughlin is more than an exceptional mortgage broker. He's the host of his own show right here called Where to Get the Money. Let's not forget the weekly Dent Market Digest with real estate investors. David McLaughlin is more than an exceptional mortgage broker. He's the host of his own show right here called Where to Get the Money. Let's not forget the weekly Dent Market Digest with Harry Dent and his co-host Rodney Johnson, offering a free daily newsletter called Economy and Markets. It's the talk and info you need to live a better life. Hence the name Better Living Radio, anchored in Bradenton, Florida at WWPR and broadcasting 24/7 worldwide. Tell your friends about Better Living Radio. Better Living Radio is on the air, and yes, it's everywhere around the world. Are you wondering, hey, what's the big idea? Oh, funny you should ask. Our show is called The Next Big Idea with Peter Gantner. In fact, we're back with more on Better Living Radio. Funny you should ask. Our show is called The Next Big Idea with Peter Gantner. In fact, we're back with more on Better Living Radio.
Boom. We are back, guys. Wow, what a great first segment. We are going to jump back in with our guests. We had Dawn join us. And the last segment, I had asked about some brands that people had used very early on in the process. And Dawn has one that is absolutely amazing. Dawn, welcome to the program. And can you please tell us your story about a brand that you used prior to them becoming as big as they are today?
Absolutely, and it's my pleasure to be here, Peter. So for me, it was Amazon when they started out with books, and I was really into reading. I kid you not, there was a delivery at my door at least once a week, and it was a big box of books. And it got to the point where my friends and family said, you should own stock in this company as much as you read. And had I owned stock then, I would be laughing now. And you know what the amazing thing is with kulaBrands, I've been with kulaBrands since May of 2016, so going on almost 4 years. I've been a part of all the brands, and I've had the joys of watching their triumphs and movements and successes and how they've grown, and to be a part of that and to know that I'm making a difference as a community member and witnessing their successes, and I get to, essentially be a part of their success.
That was a kulaBrands company where we had this collaboration in this participatory economy where she was just able to purchase those books, get credit for that, and then ended up getting a portion of the revenue throughout that. Now, Justin also has a fantastic one that he was very early on with. What brand was that, Justin?
Under Armour.
Under Armour, huge brand, right? $1 billion plus. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I've been a personal trainer and into fitness for over 20 years, and I was always buying different workout gear, Nike, Adidas, and I remember having Under Armour probably back in the late 90s, and they were only in their infant stages back then. I think they were only doing maybe a few $1,000s a year back in 96, 97. Now, like you said, they're over $1 billion company, but I've been wearing, to this day, I still wear Under Armour, and I can imagine if I had a piece of it back then in the 90s and what it would be worth today. I mean, so that I've basically watched that brand start from infant stages all the way up.
Amazon, bang. Why didn't these guys just say, wow, this is a great brand, let me invest in it? I'll tell you why. Because when you invest, you have a chance of losing your money, right? Even though Amazon became successful, it could have went in another direction. And that's actually why we formed the model of kulaBrands, where you're simply purchasing products, sharing, doing things that you already do, where you're not heavily invested in these businesses. You're simply investing your support, your time, and again, purchasing those products. You're receiving that product through there. So Cory, real quick, buddy, can you kind of give us a perspective? Now, Cory is head of our field in kulaBrands, so he works with all of our members and helping them through that process. Can you give them a perspective of what it's like to be a kulaBrands member and working with the kulaBrands community and the inventors?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. It's really cool in the fact that it sends into the inventors, into the corporate staff. It's a real great connection. I've been a part of many different businesses and companies, and for me to experience in the field what it's like to bridge a gap between corporate, the inventors, the brands, and the community is something that I've never seen or been a part of before. You've got a collective of individuals. Of course, when you get a large group of people together with different ideas and different values and different walks of life, it's usually pretty much chaos. But here, there is a synergistic flow that happens. And, I think really we're blessed, and I'm grateful for that because, you've heard the kulaBrands model. Now there is something somewhere for everyone to go to earn, and you can really leverage brilliance. You can leverage time, money, and energy. And, that experience.
The idea that's right for you. We're, of course, talking about kulaBrands. It's an innovative patent pending model that we have. But there are other ways for you to get involved with new businesses, right? There's equity-based crowdfunding by the Jobs Act. There are other ways, right? You can go to work for startups and become a part of that and get some equity when you're working with them. So there are other ways to get involved in these type of things. We just believe that with kulaBrands, we've made it to where you can participate in a lot more projects. You can be involved on a more personal level. So I've invested in companies before, guys, where I've put money into startups, and I hear from them maybe once or twice a year, maybe once every quarter. I really don't get to see the inside workings of it because I'm just a minor investor. With kulaBrands, you are going to get to see both the good and the bad. And so here's the big question. I know it's going to be hard for some of these guys because they love all of our inventors. So guys, this is hard, guys. Remember, I talked about climbing Mount Everest, naked, no oxygen tank, no guide, right? The chances of you surviving that trip are slim to none. That is the world of entrepreneurship, right? That is what it takes to build a business to a global brand, right? So guys, is there anything you can share with the group here on as being a supporter of an entrepreneur? What is it that's important for them to do? So whether it's equity-based they're doing, or whether they're helping someone else, or maybe they're just a family member and their son or daughter comes home and says, I have the next big idea, what are some of the things that you guys can give them as advice of how to communicate really well with the people that are helping them?
Well, I'll jump in first real quick. This is Deb. One of the things that happens is something goes astray, something goes not quite right, and then they feel bad. And so they stop communicating. Happens when we have an entrepreneur who hits a snag. We've seen that happen in the past.
Well, and I think we all expect something to go wrong, right? We're not roses and, unicorns and rainbows, right? We know that in business things are going to go wrong. And I think that the inventors or the creative people, the talented people, not sharing that with the people that are involved is actually not a very good thing, right? Because if you share your problems with people, they can help you with solutions, right? And so that's a part we want to be a part of of getting through these problems.
Exactly, Peter. And that's just it. We found that when we can get through to our inventors and entrepreneurs and artists, and they do come in and start communicating again with the community, even after something goes south, they're sometimes so surprised at the amount of support they get from our community. And I love watching their react, excited to see them back. And they become the biggest cheerleaders. And when we know something's gone wrong and our entrepreneurs are feeling bad about it, our community jumps in and cheers even louder for them, right? And helps push them along. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see.
Justin, anything on that, buddy?
Yeah, you just like to hear regular updates on a project that you supported. I always want to be in the know at least every 30 days. I know it's not the easiest for some of them. Sometimes they're really busy, but I just love to hear a regular update on the progress of the brand that I'm supporting.
Yeah, and that's so important, right? Because I know as a parent, right? And maybe you guys have done this before, your kid goes out somewhere and they're like 15 minutes late, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, what happened to them? Always the worst comes to mind, right? You start thinking that, maybe I should call the hospitals. It's like 15 minutes, right? It's not 4 days or whatever, right? But creative people do the same thing. They start to think the worst. Well, maybe things aren't really going well. Maybe they already quit. Maybe they already, have given up on the idea. Well, we're coming to the end of this segment. Real quick, Justin, if you want to say one short thing there.
Well, I like to support as many entrepreneurs as I can, and I've been in every brand since I started here, and it's just, I have a blast doing it, whether I get the regular updates or not. I love it.
Well, we're going to come back, guys. We're coming up on the end of this segment, but we are going to come back and talk about some of the specific inventors that we've supported and helped, and some of the incredible things that are going on there. Later on next week, we're going to have some of our inventors on, and they're going to talk about it. We're also going to have on this week Digibot, which is our cryptocurrency trading software. It's an auto bot trading software. That's going to be on this week. We are excited to have our guests here today. We're excited to be with you. And I got to tell you what, if you are ship, we'll be right back after the break.
So are you wondering where the next big idea will come from? Well, you'll hear about it first here at Better Living Radio. See, this is the show called The Next Big Idea. Maybe you got the next big idea, or maybe you just like to make some money from it. Peter Gantner will explain when we come back on Better Living Radio. Each week in his live video market and economy update offered to his inner circle, Dan Frischberg when we come back on Better Living Radio. Each week in his live video market and economy update offered to his inner circle, Dan Frischberg delivers the in-depth, professional version of his famous Market X-Ray report, live and interactive, Now, that means you get to ask all the questions you want. And if you can't make the live meeting, you can watch the report on demand. Then email your questions in, and Dan will email the answers back or include them in the next live report. Week in and week out, Dan brings you the ideas and specific stock picks from his friends, the people you see on TV and read about in the papers. You'll see what they're buying, how they're hedging, and when they're taking money off the table. At last, you'll get to see how the insiders negotiate the institutional macro bonds that billionaires on Wall Street rely on, the ones almost everyone else never even heard of. When you become money off the table, at last, you'll get to see how the insiders negotiate the institutional macro bonds that billionaires on Wall Street rely on, the ones almost everyone else never even heard of. When you become an Inner Circle member, Dan will share with you his lifetime of experience and guide you to the best teachers, the best stock pickers, the best option strategists. And you'll be invited to exclusive working vacations in beautiful locations for the Inner Circle only, where you'll rub elbows with some of the most famous investors on Wall Street. So, how do you value the lifetime of skill and experience of a top investor on a mission to share it all with you and help you become one of the few winners? If you've been listening to Dan for a few years, he's likely already made you tons of money, or even more important, saved you from losing a fortune. Now, there are limits to the capacity of the online video sessions, but right now, if you've been listening to Dan for a few years, he's likely already made you tons of money, or even more important, saved you from losing a fortune. Now, there are limits to the capacity of the online video sessions, but right now, for a limited time, Dan's offering you the position of charter subscriber, get this, for less than the price of a cup of coffee a day. For all the info or to subscribe, just simply click on themoneyman.com, themoneyman.com. Welcome back to Better Living Radio and this amazing idea for a radio show. It's called The Next Big Idea. Rather ironic, wouldn't you say? Hey, if you've got an idea, you might want to talk with host Peter Gantner or one of his guests here at Better Living Radio. Look, here they come now.
Wow.
If you've got an idea, you might want to talk with host Peter Gantner or one of his guests here at Better Living Radio. Look, here they come now.
Wow, we're having a great time here today with our guests. And we have been talking about entrepreneurship and, of course, the role of supporters to entrepreneurs, which is so important, guys. I got to tell you, there were times in the past, I've been a lifetime entrepreneur. And there's been some times while I was building companies where things got really dark, right? And I'd be sitting at 3 o'clock in the morning at my desk with the lights off thinking, how the heck am I going to get through this and make this actually happen? So the fact of with the way technology is today, with a model like kulaBrands, to have support as an entrepreneur is absolutely essential to build, is absolutely essential to building a successful company and a successful brand. You can check us out at kulaBrands.com if you want to learn more about what we're doing. One of the things is, though, guys, we are about helping people find and create the next big idea. So we're not the only avenue that's available out there for that. There's also equity-based crowdfunding. Cory, real quick, can you give us a couple of the sites that are available for equity-based crowdfunding?
Yes. There's plenty out there. You know, you got your Indiegogo, you got your Start Engine, you got your crowdfunder, micro ventures. You could find quite a bit to get involved with the equity side of
So the great side is just go to Google, put in equity-based crowdfunding, and you'll be able to find plenty of sites that will help you raise money for your funding. But guys, I believe that money is not the biggest thing that most businesses, very important, but really it's the support in putting stuff together. So what I'd like to go into right now, guys, are some of the companies that we've supported and how we've supported them in a very unique way. So let's start first, guys, with Cords of Steel, right? Cliff Henthorne, guys, just to let you know, Cliff Henthorne passed away this past summer. We continue to move that forward with his business partners. So it was very sad for us to have that happen, but it's also very satisfying to know that we can continue to help move his business forward, and that at some point it will be able to take care of his family, and provide that value to him. But Cords of Steel was a unique product. Some of our members began to take the cords to shows. So any of you guys do shows with Cords of Steel? I believe, Corey, you have, right?
I do shows with Cords of Steel, yes.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit, Cliff, and them generate one of the greatest things you guys need it for a business is cash flow. It's a very important part. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with going to get them. And on some of those popular business shows, you see people come in and they got a great idea and they say, how much have you sold? When they say none, it really like deflates the room, right? And then, or you have somebody else who comes in and says, oh, we've already sold $200,000 or $500,000 worth. And you see the shark's ears perk up. And the reason why is it's proof of concept, it's cash flow for the business, and that shows you a better opportunity to invest in that business. So real quick, Corey, can you go through what we did for Cords of Steel? How did it work for him, and what has it generated for them over the last couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. I got started right when the brand came about, the product of Cords of Steel came about, the right angle. One word comes to mind is exposure, and mass exposure for the brand. With a lot of members, a lot of affiliates selling cords around the country and even around the world. And what was absolutely incredible was being able to get out there in the public, and you're able to put eyes, a large number of eyes on your product at one time, especially depending on the show that you're at. You can get many people involved. And what's cool too is you're showing a product that creates excitement and something that people haven't seen before. So you're out there, we were out there displaying these cords, and the reactions that we would get from people was a confirmation that we had our hands on an incredible product. And so sales multiplied with large number of people, and then you multiply that with a large number of people selling those. And not only trade shows, we moved into retail space as well, with many larger retailers as well, retailers.
And hundreds of retailers, correct? Well over 100 Ace Hardware stores, vape shops, right? I mean, really have helped. And those are weekly, monthly reorders that give that business cash flow to keep moving the brand forward, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think if you're an entrepreneur, if you're part of a company, you come up with a product, it's you out there hitting the streets, and you got to hit all these locations. You got to hit all these multiple retailers. But now, we have an army of individuals out there, and you never know the demographic or the different factors that play into who's going to purchase the cord. But we've got a lot of members out there actually physically going into mom and pop retailers, and of course you have the Ace Hardwares and the larger retailers that latch on when they see the products. So that right there, on top of trade shows, expands the power of what this model represents.
Helix, right? We had a show this week with Helix that we've also helped put it into retail locations. I believe we're up to about 50, 60 retail locations there that we've actually placed it at. Can anybody on here tell me a little story about one of their favorite inventors, and something that you've done to help them? So maybe it's Rick Williams with Tuck Visor, maybe it's Buddha Gear. So real quick, Dawn, Justin, or Jeff and Wendy.
One of the things that I've done, this is Wendy, by the way. One of the things that I've done, I've gone and promoted Helix, our Helix brand, their CBD product, and calling up businesses and chiropractors and different establishments to promote the product. And and I have somebody go out and then they do the demo, and most of the time they end up purchasing.
As well as you make some short-term commissions, correct?
Exactly.
Off of doing those activities. So some now money, and then also the long-term money from there. I see that we had George join us. George, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Just busy as all get out, unfortunately, today with all that's going on. But glad I was
No
able to
worries.
pop
You
in.
are live on the radio, buddy.
Oh, fantastic.
So can you real quick tell us a quick story about a kulaBrands inventor that you've supported and you've helped, in the marketplace?
Oh, my goodness. The majority of them, but for the purposes of expediency, Cords of Steel, without a doubt, was one of my very first and favorites. Knowing what it does, knowing that the success that others in kulaBrands have enjoyed to date with Cords of Steel by selling them at trade shows, at fairs and festivals, I knew how to get in right away. My favorite story was almost 2 summers ago when I first got on board and I started buying bulk packages. There was a reunion that we had at our beach, and when I was a lifeguard, I figured, you know what, since we're having this thing, I'm going to bring them out here to see what people think of this thing. So I went out there with 2 bundle packs, 30 each, 60 all together, and being able to buy them in bulk within kulaBrands, we were able to buy them at a reduced rate. Well, I sold all 60 within 4.5 hours time without even trying, just by the way they looked, just by explaining what their capabilities were. And after, like I said, 4 hours and 15 minutes, I had it in my pocket.
Isn't that awesome? Wow.
It was amazing.
And of course, you were helping the company generate revenue. Also, George, you received what? Some long-term residual income off of that purchase, correct?
Sure, yes, sir. Lifetime royalties for just that action.
That is absolutely spectacular. So, Dawn, what is your favorite inventor story? We've got about 2 minutes left in this segment, so if you could quickly just give us a little bit on one of your favorite inventors and maybe a quick story about it.
Well, for me, definitely Buddha Gear, and I'm working with Buddha Gear right now with our ski resort here in British Columbia called Big White. And one thing I like about Big White is they have summer events as well as their winter ski season. So I'm certainly excited about that, as well as doing trade shows here for Buddha Gear. And there are so many of our love, but Buddha Gear is really near and dear to my heart.
Well, and I've got to tell you, one of the hard things of being a startup business is international expansion, being able to sell outside of your own country. Most people end up using distributors, and they, of course, reduce the amount of revenue they have coming in. The way kulaBrands is set up, we have people in over 20-something countries around the world, so we are actually able to help them expand. A matter of fact, Jeff and Wendy are in Canada, as well as Dawn. So they are working out of Canada to build kulaBrands to help our brands expand in those countries. Man, I got to tell you guys, we have had a great third segment here. I am excited to be back with you after this next break, where we're going to get into more details about supporting and helping entrepreneurs, whether through kulaBrands or through any other mechanism. Guys, there is just such a great feeling to be part of helping somebody. You feel like you have success. We'll be back after the break.
You're tuned in to Better Living Radio, streaming worldwide across the internet, and you're listening to entrepreneur and thought processor Peter Gantner on the next big idea. Stay tuned. Peter will be right back. So you've mastered your craft and you know your product helps people. Now what? Jackie Simmons, host of her own show here at Better Living Radio, wants to know if you'd like to massively increase your sales. Introducing Ultimate Sales Mastery Live, a 3-day program specially designed to show you how to own your worth, claim your value, and make a difference. It's a roll up your sleeves and get it done event. At the end, you'll have a signature talk written and rehearsed, ready to take your show on the road, ready for any chance to speak with an intro to make a difference. It's a roll up your sleeves and get it done event. At the end, you'll have a signature talk written and rehearsed, ready to take your show on the road, ready for any chance to speak with an intro so solid you can stand on it. Jackie Simmons is a best-selling author. Now here she is on stage. She teaches online sales courses, and she's hosting boot camps everywhere. This one's in Sarasota, Florida, April 17th. Ultimate Sales Mastery Live. For info and to register, just click on joinusm.com. That's joinusm.com. You may know David McLaughlin from his program here at Better Living Radio. A lot of people know him because he's helped them to get money for residential and commercial properties when they'd just about given up. Diamond Dave McLaughlin is a pro with a wealth of knowledge and a responsive attitude. Yeah, he's one of those guys who actually calls you back for residential and commercial properties when they'd just about given up. Diamond Dave McLaughlin is a pro with a wealth of knowledge and a responsive attitude. Yeah, he's one of those guys who actually calls you back. In fact, the cornerstone of his business is built on great communication. David specializes in helping people with one of their most important dreams, financing a home, and enhancing the economic well-being of his customers one loan at a time. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you're looking for a pro to guide you through any kind of stress-free financing process, catch Dave's show. It's called Where to Get the Money. You can get all of Dave's contact info. In fact, the best place to find David McLaughlin is right there on the homepage at betterlivingradio.com. Better Living Radio is on the air, and yes, it's everywhere around the world. Are you wondering, hey, what's the big... In fact, the best place to find David McLaughlin is right there on the homepage at betterlivingradio.com. Better Living Radio is on the air, and yes, it's everywhere around the world. Are you wondering, hey, what's the big idea? Oh, funny you should ask. Our show is called The Next Big Idea with Peter Gantner. In fact, we're back with more on Better Living Radio.
Wow, guys, we have had a great show so far with all of our guests that are all part of kulaBrands. We're talking about supporting entrepreneurs, helping them through their journey. It is a very tough thing to start a company and build a global brand, guys. It is not for the faint of heart. If you're here and you're saying, I've got a great idea, if you are not willing to work 7 days a week, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18 hours a day, you're probably better off supporting an entrepreneur than becoming an entrepreneur yourself. 12, 14, 15, 16, 18 hours a day. You're probably better off supporting an entrepreneur than becoming an entrepreneur yourself. It is definitely a really tough journey. So real quick, we have a whole panel of kulaBrands members. We've got Dawn McIntyre from Canada. We've got George Velasaris from Chicago. We got Solange. She is here in the States. We got Jeff and Wendy Simpson, and we have Justin Haggerty that has joined us. So real quick, guys, now that you've watched the journey that some of these inventors have been on, what do you think about the difficulty level that it takes really to build a brand? Has that changed for anyone here? You can just unmute yourself and just speak up, whoever has a response to that. I think that a lot of people think, oh, well, that person just started a company and all of a sudden, like Spanx, she was selling $1 billion worth yet, but filled with boxes because she was working out of her home to start that $1 billion company. Go ahead, George.
Thanks, Peter. If I might, it gets easier every day. It gets better every single day. What I've learned early on in kulaBrands is loving the fact that knowing that you folks will always provide us, the membership, with the tools necessary to succeed. I take comfort in the fact that knowing that the actions that each one of us takes and makes guarantees our success. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's, for lack of a better word, it's amazing. It truly is.
Awesome. Now let me ask you guys a question. Deb brought it up, music. We have 5 music artists that we've supported before. Is anyone here learned anything about the music industry that it's like, wow, this is tougher than I thought as an artist? Is there anybody here that has any feedback on that? Because again, we have 5 artists, right? We've got Donovan Lee, Jacqueline Holmes, King of Hearts. You guys might have heard that name before. They were big in the 90s, right? They started to really launch in the 90s. We've got Humble G. And then Naya Marquez, guys. So I got them all in there. So, all right.
Yeah,
Anybody want to talk on that real quick?
Yeah, Peter, one of the things I learned early on was that music artists that we listen to on the radio today, they have to pay to play. Didn't know that. That's why they have to have these big labels, because the labels then, of course, you know, with they help them actually get onto the radio. It costs a lot for an artist to be heard on the radio. Those are the kinds of things that I didn't.
Deb, real quick, how are we helping artists get beyond that? How do we help artists get played when they don't have the funds for them to get played?
Well, they're not streaming any platform that streams. We go out as Kula members and we make sure that we're listening to our artists on live streaming, so that the number of listeners can increase. Because people, when they're looking at an artist and deciding whether or not they want to play them on their radio or want to play them on their streaming platform, they want to see first, well, how many people are actually listening to them? So the community plays a huge part there. We also do things like go out and purchase their music, right? When it's selling on iTunes or Amazon Music or whatever it's selling, we'll go ahead and purchase their album. Only those of us who like their music, only those of us who want to participate. We also go and I like to call it dance on their posts. So we go to their social media and we make sure we engage on their posts. And additionally, we contact radio stations. The streaming stations now are looking for new artists to play. So we contact them, we send them emails, we send them, tell them how, we contact them, we send them emails, we send them, tell them how much we love the artist. And then when they play it, we make sure to get back and thank them for playing the music. So those are just some of the things that we do.
Yeah, guys, and we've had some of our artists already win a Josie Award. We've won a Marty Award up in Canada. Just some phenomenal stuff happening in the music industry, and we're really excited to be a part of that. So let's get into right now, guys. What has been one of the hardest things for someone on the panel from supporting an entrepreneur? Like the tough part about it. Is there anybody who has anything that could share with us of something that's been more difficult than you thought when you joined kulaBrands? When you said, hey, we're going to just support these people, we're going to crowdfund on their stuff. Is there anybody there that has anything to talk about on that? Corey?
Yeah, let me try to fit this into that question. On corporate staff has been really changing the mind and the way the entrepreneur works in the industry as a whole. When you talk about royalty income, you talk about long-term wealth, right? So I think the stigmata in the industry is used to that overnight success and is used to chasing, you know, the money around online. So one of the hardest things for me has been when talking to people, having them grasp the concept of being able to do something today that's going to pay you for a lifetime and generations to come. But when you go out to set out to go change the world, change the minds of people that are set on what home-based businesses have been like or what they were promoted as, you take on a very tough job. And one of the most rewarding things, though, comes along with the hardest part that I've experienced, which is the acceptance they mean. And now that we have access royalties for the average individual, that reward has far exceeded the toughness and the rough part of that.
Well, I think for me, and maybe you guys somebody else can chime in on this, is the rewards, right? You do your reward-based crowdfunding. Sometimes there's delays, right, in getting those rewards and having those show up, right? Now, this is all through all of reward-based crowdfunding. It's not unique to kulaBrands, but I think that that's one of the tough things, because sometimes, you know, when they budget out what it's going to take or how much things are going to cost, they're off maybe on one or two things, and of course it creates some delays. Anyone else have any issues or any type of thing with that?
I'd like to say, Peter, just a little bit, kind of talking about what Corey talked about. When Wendy joined kulaBrands, she supported one of your first projects, and just because there's a plan to go here, 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 and here, sometimes things go sideways and entrepreneurs fall down. It's the ones that get back up and continue to grow. It's okay to fail, but get back up and try again, right? So I've personally learned that I've got the patience to handle this. If you're not that type of person, things sometimes go sideways, whether it's you have to wait for maybe a reward like a shirt or a hat or a CD to arrive. Sometimes it's a rocky road, but if you're in this business to win it, just give it some time and you'll be okay.
That is awesome. Yeah, guys, I got to tell you, when he talks about getting back up, we have named one of our inventors Rockyetta, right? Because she started out, she had a full team of people helping her through illness and through, but she was knocked down on the mat. She actually retired. She's in her late 60s. So, not a young, spry person, but she has just exemplified what it is to be an entrepreneur and got back up. And she came back to us after getting knocked down and said, look, I want to do a show, an expo. And she went into that expo and nailed Groupon, and she got Bye Bye Baby from that. So guys, I got to tell you what, supporting entrepreneurs has been one of the great loves of my life. I love what we do here in kulaBrands. Check it out, kulaBrands.com. Become part of what we're doing. Support entrepreneurs. If we're not right for you, then look at equity-based crowdfunding. Look at other ways to support entrepreneurs. Maybe you've made it financial yourself and you're in accounting, or maybe you have some other skill that you can lend to startup businesses. Get with their startup organization. Entrepreneurship is such a key to the American dream and to moving things forward. So definitely make sure you're participating in some way, form, or fashion. We want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank all of my guests. You guys were amazing. I want to, of course, thank my co-hosts, Corey and Deb. We will see you tomorrow.
Did you ever imagine that these little inventions like radio and the internet, that there was a time when they were considered the next big idea? And yet, here you are today, having just heard a program called The Next Big Idea. Peter Gantner is your host. He's one of the founders of kulaBrands, and they can help you whether you've got an idea of your own or you just want to get in on the ground floor of the next big thing. Peter and his co-hosts and guests are here weekdays on Better Living Radio to discuss the ins and outs of creating, manufacturing, branding, and marketing the best of the big ideas. And guests are here weekdays on Better Living Radio to discuss the ins and outs of creating, manufacturing, branding, and marketing the best of the big ideas. Maybe you've got one, or maybe you want to be involved in one. You're definitely tuned into the right spot. So hear this. You can hear this program weekdays at the same time on Better Living Radio as kulaBrands presents Peter Gantner and the Next Big Idea.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-639-8620. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car. And as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-639-8620. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-639-8620. That's 1-800-639-8620.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically...
Anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. 800-631-1754.